Greetings, Star Trek Fleet Commanders. I am the Angry Rhino. Today, I'm going to explain my thought process is when I use XP traits on officers for away team missions. And I'm going to focus on the rainbow colored missions. They're big on faction credits, at least the ones I'm going to show you. Big on faction credits and away team store credits. Lead to more officers and ships based on the way the content has gone over the past few months. Dominion Solar Armadas, now Borg Solar Armadas. And with this Borg loop, you may be, if you have chosen to participate, I have not chosen to participate, but if you are participating, you may have had to give up some faction credit in order to participate, to obtain the directives. So I'm going to show you my process here. Now, because, of course, they're random as far as when they show up in your away team assignments, I've spent the last few days looking for them, and when they pop up, I have recorded short clips of me going through and putting on officers and such. So let's go to the first one. This is the Klingon one. See how it's playing here. Now, obviously, you can see... Wait, where is my pause button? Oh, way down there in the middle. Whoo! That was small. Okay. You can see, obviously, the main reward is the away team store currency, and the critical hit reward it being faction credit. Now, the away team store currency is very low for these faction-based ones. The faction credit is relatively high. Now, as you can see the little traits down here, that's what you have to... Each officer has traits. Uncommons have 1, rares have 2, epics have 3. Then you take your currency and you apply it to these certain traits. But it's not necessarily more important of how to do it. It's pretty self-explanatory, but more about who to put it on. As you can see here, I selected the Chancellor trait as a filter. You see there are 3 officers with Chancellor. Gorkon, I just call her Ass Biter. I don't know, as a Batur, Ass Biter seems to work better for me. And Galron. Now, epic officers are going to have more total stats than rare officers. So you're going to have higher percentages to complete the away team missions or get higher amounts of currency as a reward with epic officers. The problem is, do you just want to go and use the epic officers? Like, take Gorkon here. Yes, I do have a few traits assigned to Gorkon. I do kind of regret it. The good thing about these trait XP is you will get more. So it's not like you put the trait on them and then, well, it's wasted. Not necessarily wasted, because you will get more, and in the long run, it's okay. But I use Ass Biter because a few reasons, I guess. One, I don't use her that much. If you pick an officer that you use a lot, like say, I use Gorkon a lot for hull breaching. So if I'm constantly using them for away missions, then I don't have them available on a ship. Unless you speed up the away mission, which I have done, and you can do. It is a thing to do. I don't want to have to do it all the time. So I don't use an officer on an away team that I use in other parts of the game. If I remember correctly, when the away teams came out, it was built as, oh, all those officers that you don't use too much, here you go, here's something to use them on away teams. So officers like Gorkon that you may use a lot, they really shouldn't be used in away teams. That goes against the spirit of away teams. And I refuse to do that. And another thing you have to think of is, as you saw Galron, sourcing. Sourcing for Aspiter is higher than Galron, so that's why I went with Aspiter instead of Galron. Now you see here Ruthless. A whole bunch of people have Ruthless trait. Actually, no, that isn't true. It's only... Hold on, wait, scroll back. It's only Gorkon and 6 of 11 have the Ruthless trait. I'm not going to use either one of those on an away team mission. Unless I want to speed it up. But that's not my priority doing away team missions. So I haven't put Relentless on anybody. So I just went with Ruthless and Chancellor for Aspiter. You hear I'm filtering again. Dedicated. There are a few officers here. But, again, sourcing is an issue. If they're not a high tier, then they're going to have less stats. And therefore, you're going to have a less chance. You may have a less chance to complete the away team. As you can see here, I used Kiesner. Relatively high sourcing. And dedicated. You see I'm at 55% for the critical hit. And here we go with Relentless. How I filtered out Relentless. Okay, I don't know what it was before when I was talking about 6, and I guess it was Ruthless. It was Ruthless, I think. However, we're talking about the Relentless trait now. As you can see how Chancellor had 3. That's usually because it was the first of the trait. The second ones usually have 4. And when you get to the epics, the last one had shit tons of levels. I don't remember how many levels. It's a lot. But as you can see, there's 4 officers with a Relentless. Now think about your sourcing, and you think about how often you use them somewhere else. Gorkon, I use them all the time somewhere else. 6 of 11, I use them all the time somewhere else. 5 of 11, use her all the time somewhere else. Strike Team Lon. Those 4 are heavily used officers elsewhere. Why in the shit are they the only ones with Relentless? Oh my god. Yeah, I should have said in the beginning of the video, this is going to be a little bit of a bitch fest, because I'm a little pissed off at the way they did some of this shit. So I don't do Relentless, because I'm not giving up those officers. I'm not doing that. I mean, it's like mining. You send them away and it goes and it does stuff without you even being there. But if you want to play the game and like attack hostiles, attack other players, attack armadas, you're going to need certain officers. You're going to need certain officers. Otherwise, you're not going to do as well. Well, 5 and 6 of 11 are heavily used armada officers. Heavily used. Strike Team Lon. Battleship Strike Team is one of the best PvP crews out there. Heavily used. Gorkon. Now it is a debate on who's better at hull breaching, Lorca or Gorkon. That's for you to decide. I think it's Gorkon. With Lorca, you really only have one chance, and that's at the beginning of the round. With Gorkon, yes, it is based on you getting a crit chance, but you have many. You have many options. So I don't go with Relentless. So my third officer is going to be an attack officer. Then who do I go with? I go and I filter by attack. And it's Crass. Now, Crass is good for the Um, Crest is good for that purple metal wave mission, but I kind of have a shit ton of them because I upgraded Crest fairly early. Now I apply the same thought process with, all my away teams. And now this other faction, Romulan. So I'm trying to go Klingon Romulan. As you can see here, going for looking at the warrior trait. There's lots of warrior traits. It is usually a first when you're looking through your officers and their away team traits. It's usually on a number 1. Luckily, I have Mara here, and she has 2 of the traits. It's another thing you want to try to look for, because if you can see how there are 4 different traits that you can contribute to the critical hit chance, but only 3 officer slots. So, logic dictates that if you can find one that has 2, it'll serve you very well. Luckily, Mara has somewhat high sourcing because of Swarm Sunday. And she also has manipulative and warrior. Tell me why a Klingon is a good officer to use on the Romulan away team mission. Explain that shit to me. That's what I'm talking about people being stupid. Oh, shit. Well, Tactical was another one. As you can see the 4 next to it. That is usually the second one in the line of away team traits. I use, who's that guy? Mitchell. Mitchell's in the transporter patterns. He's a relatively useless officer elsewhere. Anyway, he's very useful in away teams. He's an epic. Lots of stats. Several away team traits. Very useful for away teams. Depending on where you feel in your progression or in you playing your game, you can choose to either spend your, what are they called? Transporter patterns. I just said it too. I don't know. Forgetting words already. Decide how you want to spend some of your transporter patterns, right? Do you want to spend them on somebody like, say, Giorgio, if you're going to use burn a lot on an armada or in PvP? Or do you want to spend it on somebody like, say, Mitchell, or as you can see the leader slot here for Sela, and increase their tier and therefore increase the rewards for away team missions? So you can see it filtered by the leader slot or the leader trait. And as you can see, Sharvanik, Rom, Lorca, Kang. I mean, look at there's 5 for this one. 5. The other one, there was like, what, 4? Yes, Sharvanik has 3 traits. And yes, I did spend the currency on him. I don't use her anymore because she's maxed and she has a very high amount of health, which is very useful against armadas. She also is one of the Trinity officers, and before strike teams came out, she was very useful. Now, she is very useful for a anti-battleship strike team. So, do you necessarily want to use her on away teams? Well, that's your decision. As you can see, Kang is also here, another Trinity officer. Is he somebody you really want to use on away teams? Me, no. As I hopefully have made clear by now, something you want to consider is, do you just want to use the best officers for away teams, or do you want to use the best officers available that you don't use elsewhere? This is just me trying to help you do a little bit of both. Rom, if you're a raider, you like cracking bases, you don't want to send Rom on away teams. You have to speed up your away team every time we want to go crack a base. Lorca, depending on where you stand in the argument, I say he's the second best hull breach officer. I think the sourcing is relatively low for him. If the sourcing was higher, I think he could be the better one, but his sourcing's low. So for those two reasons, low sourcing and good hull breach officer, I don't want to use him on away teams. Sealer's garbage. Sealer is like the reverse Khan, I guess. Whenever you get hit, you reduce their crit chance or something. Who cares? She's not. The idea, I think, is nice, but for one reason or another, she just doesn't work that well. All right, so let's go on to the last one here. The last one is where your critical hit is going to be more away team shards. There's an away team store. There's a whole bunch of good stuff in the away team store. A whole bunch of ship blueprints and even reputation. I do think it is okay to spend your away team credits on reputation. I do it. I told the girlfriend to do it. Something you would have to decide for yourself. I do think there is value there. Especially if you can critical hit on this mission somewhat regularly. You see I've filtered out Survivor there. There are only a few with that trait. See Quark. I think Quark is a fairly good miner, so he's useful. Jayla is the swarm queen. Like if you have Jayla and you're using her on away teams instead of swarm, might want to change that. Lon. No, she belongs below deck when you're grinding, so you have higher hull. As you can see, I let the video play a little bit too long. Pan is the other one. He's fairly good. You could use him for Survivor if you wanted to. As you can see, he's already on another away team for this video. His sourcing is relatively high. The downside of Pan and Ahavix, or however you pronounce that name, is lack of independent credits to level them up. This one really pisses me off. The miner trait. Look at the sons of bitches that have the miner trait. Both Barretts. Yes, it is 1111, but that is Borg Barrett. 3 of 11. The best protected cargo officer in the game. No, I'm not sending her on the away team. Sorry. 10 of 11. The best mining speed increaser in the game. Now, I do understand that there are a few others that do that. So you may not need it. But at the same time, I'm not going to use him on away team missions. I'm just not going to do it. It's just, I think it's silly. Nero. I think Nero is like the same argument as Gorkon, right? If you have noticed, Gorkon and Nero both apply their thing, whether it's hull breach or burning, based on you shooting the Armada, or hostile or PvP opponent. Whereas Giorgio and Lorca, who came out about the same time, have one chance in the beginning of the round. So it's kind of an age-old argument with Nero and Gorkon. You don't have a chance of putting it on for your first shot or two, but you do have a higher chance overall. So it's whichever one you're going to like. But I'm not going to use Nero for another reason, just like Charvenik, high health. If you're going to use Cisco, or if you're going to use 511, or even, what's her name, Jadzia, they all want you to stack health below. So if you're not going to use Charvenik or Nero, or the one or the other, you're going to have a harder time getting your health stats up below deck. So I'm just not going to do it. As you can see here, I selected Barrett, just regular old Barrett, because of 11 of 11. The need for a second crystal mining captain just wasn't that necessarily for me. As you can see, impulsive, I went with Burnham. Yes, her sourcing is relatively low, but as you can see, the other three assholes that I'm getting angry. Have impulsive. Both Kirks. What kind of jackass thought that up? Man. I mean, if you think I'm sitting here yelling that Charvedic and Nero are heavily used because of their health stats. Both Kirks? Oh my, holy shit. Both Kirks are used more than those other two assholes. You put this shit on these motherfuckers? What the hell? God damn. Bullshit. And Mariner? First of all, shit ass sourcing. Second of all, too useful elsewhere. Can I have somebody with these stupid ass traits that aren't that useful anywhere the hell else? God damn. What the hell? Alright. Seems like a good place to wind down the video. Now I've gotten really agitated. Comment below. What is your process when putting on away team traits? Do you go for whatever's going to get you the most loot? Or do you go for whatever you can and still be able to use good officers elsewhere? Be sure to like and subscribe. Be notified when I drop a video. I am the Angry Rhino. Shields up, Commanders.